Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we are going to be talking about Microprose Formula One Grand Prix. So Aaron, before we get into it though, I want to let you and all of our listeners know, because I'm telling you this for the first time too.
Oh God.
I'm leaving. No. We are going to be doing a best of 2018 video that will be released in conjunction with our normal New Year's Eve celebratory episode. And I'm on the lookout for what you believe are our best, funniest, wackiest Amigos moments from 2018.
Ooh.
So on the Discord, we've already had several great responses, but I'm looking to cast a wider net, if you will.
The wackiest moments? Mm-hmm. There have been no wacky moments. It's been straight,
Definitely
non-stop, straight man action.
Definitely.
You know.
So I think that if you're listening now at home and if one immediately springs to mind, or several, please send me an email.
Just shout it out in the chat room.
Shout it into your phone. Representative. Send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com, and I will compile those and release some sort of a video with all of those clips. It'll be like a clip show.
My wackiest moments were when your modem went down during the marathon. Now that was wacky.
Unfortunately,
because I just got to sit there and just eat pizza pie
while
and
everyone
just watch
else
the world
rushed
burn
around you, with their hands akimbo.
I enjoyed that, and also another thing I enjoyed was at towards the end, the last couple of hours, where your mood soured a little bit.
Oh yeah. I got real tired of playing Amiga right around the time that it came from the desert.
You got real tired of being conscious.
Yeah.
So the marathon had several moments where I chuckled.
You know, speaking of Amigathon, I knew this would happen. There aren't going to be any more Amigathon releases, are there? It's ground to a halt.
What are you making? We have to film more intros. Don't look at me.
We should have just put it all up.
Don't look at me.
We should have just put it all up and been done with it.
How many videos do you need to release in a week? Spectrum boy.
Hey, man.
You release these things that are going out of style. I've got one of these things. I've got a cut waiting to go. We need to film a little opening for it, and I'll be ready to go.
Right.
Because it's a retrospective. You can't just put these out. You got to think about it.
Do you?
Talk about it. Yeah. We have to address what happened that hour. Because so much happened in an hour, it needs to be addressed.
Okay. Well, I look forward.
Plus,
to,
honestly, I think we were at hour 10 or 11 when we quit, and there's not too many more hours before we lose a bunch of hours.
That's true.
So it's not like there's 50 hours standing by. There's only a few more hours, then the footage lost forever. That was also wacky. That's probably good wacky, except this. And also we lost that horrible pieing you took,
right?
Which was effectively 3 drops of liquid on your cheek.
I will say that the pieing was at a somewhat lesser awesomeness than last year.
Oh, yeah. You didn't get a lobotomy like I did. You just got a couple. I couldn't believe that. I knew I should have let you use your own pie at this thing.
That's rule number 1.
That was
Never
a
let
rib.
him use his own pie.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's in the boxing rules.
I'll tell you, if we do another one of those marathons next year, I'm going to bring the pie, and it won't be a pleasant
I'm going to
pie.
bring the pain.
Well, you bring that every time you show up for one of these things.
That's true.
You're chastising me just now. Don't bring the pain. It's not like I control all those videos. Are you kidding me? Clearly, they know I know nothing.
All right, Aaron. I hear that train a-coming. It's rolling around the bend. And I ain't seen the Amiga news since this time last week. It's the gamble train, Aaron.
So this is what we're going forward with, the gamble train.
The gamble train.
So you took something I had that made no sense and made it even less sensical.
Oh, yeah.
Let me unleash the beast here. So, I didn't see a super amount of Amiga news, but there's a couple of items we're going to touch on here. So, our good pal, Andy Davis.
Yes.
Linked up a video here with the late, weird Andy Warhol Amiga sighting video. Have you looked at this weird video from this strange man?
I have not seen this. I'm already slightly afraid.
Yeah. Andy's I mean, obviously, he was one of the guys that helped launch the Amiga with just by his presence. And presumably, he used the Amiga for some stuff. Mm-hmm. You know? And no, I'm not sure exactly what a piece of art that was, just now that flashed up. But weird man, weird, strange, goofy sort of guy. A very renowned artist. Mm-hmm. But then again, you know, art's one of those things that really is in the eye of the person admiring the art. So you either like it or you don't. And I don't hate his stuff. It just, what do you think about Warhol's? Well, I don't know how much you've looked at it, but I mean, I've seen a lot of it.
I think that it's, you know, he invented the sort of like ordinary object as art thing with the Campbell soup and all that stuff.
Oh yes,
and and you know, I can appreciate his sort of weirdness, and I think that it's sort of a pity that these days we don't have. It's part of the loss of our collective consciousness as a nation that we don't have people like him that everybody can just refer to. Like if I asked you, who's a contemporary weird artist that everybody knows about now?
Andy Warhol.
He's been dead forever.
He's still contemporary. So he lived in my lifetime.
We don't have the same sort of people anymore.
I can't name very many artists, to be honest with you.
That shocks me.
Art is not. Oh, what are you? Now wait a minute. What are you, some kind of art, super art critic? Let's hear some of your favorite artists.
Oh, I won't go into it. I don't want to.
That's what I thought. Yeah. That's exactly what I thought.
So anyway, the reason why that video was posted was because Andy Warhol was present at the unveiling of the Amiga, and he was a very early proponent of its artistic capabilities.
Whether he used it or not, though, is the question. I don't know.
Still uncertain.
Yeah. So, moving on down the line, I don't think we talked. Yeah, we didn't talk about this last week. The Dreamcatcher has a thing up here on. Did you read this thing on the Voodoo?
The Voodoo Vengeance.
Now, had you ever heard of this title?
No.
I know you pretty well. What did you, when you just looked at these pictures? Have you read the article or just looked at the pictures? The pretty pictures.
I only look at the pictures.
I knew it. So look at the pictures here. What's your first instinct tell you about this game?
I would think that this would be like Flight of the Amazon Queen.
So, but I mean, we're just without playing or knowing anything about it. Are you positive or negative to it?
Oh, I'm positive.
I know you would be.
I love that tiki stuff.
Yeah, it's cool looking. Yeah. It's colorful.
Mm-hmm. Joe versus the Volcanoes.
Another classic films. DK. Again, I've never heard of this one. How do we not know about this stuff? How long have we been doing this?
Hey, man, there's a lot of Amiga games out there.
If it wasn't for our buddies, we'd be boned. A million times.
I say that every day.
We'd be boned a million times. We're going to skip some of the homemade stuff we did. Now, this is something here. We know a guy. We know a man, a certain man. His name is Duncan Styles. And the D-Man, as I have dubbed him.
He is the D-Man.
Did a review on Everything Amiga for us this week. And it's on a game called Whoops Up. Have you ever heard of Whoops Up?
Never.
I haven't either. It's a, how to describe Whoops Up? I read this, and I looked at the pictures, and I'm still not 100% sure what the hell this is. It's a shooting, kind of it's weird looking.
It looks kind of like Pang. I'm pretty sure it's Pang.
You think it's Pang?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I know that you were a latecomer to Pang. You didn't play Pang until about 3 months ago.
Yeah, Pang is not something. You know what turned me off about Pang? It's the name.
It's not great.
It sounds dirty to me.
It does.
I don't know, or like some sort of food. It's funny how that works.
It could go either way, really.
I'll have 2 Pangs and a pawn.
Yeah, and that you've just broken the law in several states.
That's all it takes, is it? You call for 2 Pangs, you're under arrest, sir. Soliciting Pang in our state's against the law. That's my luck. Arrested for Pang. So
what a way to go, man.
Let's talk about this, what just popped up, what Indie Retro News just popped up as timely as today's headlines. Help me. You've ever heard of this game? You All Quest for Money. The Motion Twin ZX Spectrum homebrew gets an Amiga release. So we're getting stuff ported over from the ZX Spectrum.
It's great. Good. It's great.
I think that's great. Now, I've never heard of this. I've never seen it. It looks pretty good.
I can tell you that I'm going to be playing it soon, though.
This looks like it's right up your alley.
Oh, yeah.
Poster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just looking from the screenshots, it looks like it's got that sort of bubble bobble / single screen puzzle platform type deal.
I know you love that stuff, Boat. I know you love it. So let's talk about some stuff that the Boat's been up to this week. He's a bit of busy Boat. Let's go over a couple of these versus videos. Now, I think I watched the one you haven't released yet, actually. But you've got one here that's you've compared Out to Lunch, which was last week's game, to the Super Nintendo. Now, I made a controversial point last week, and the point was that I thought the Amiga, this is not playing them, by the way, just looking at them, but I thought I preferred the Super Nintendo version, the look of it. And I read a lot of the people that had mentioned things on Discord and under the video, and who chastised me and thought that this actually looked way better on the Amiga. Now, you can see right there, there's already a difference. The Super Nintendo version has a cool cutscene where all the food escapes, which I think is cool. You played both these Boats, so you're the man to ask. How did they compare?
Oh, the Amiga version is hands down the better looking.
Oh,
game.
You really?
Aside from that one cutscene, because the Amiga version doesn't have the cutscene. But if you look at I've done a little bit on every level, thanks to some level codes. And the colors on the 1200 or on the Amiga version are so much richer. I think this is it has to be a 1200 because it's an AGA game.
It is an AGA game.
The colors are so much richer. The music sounds better. I mean, at its core, they're exactly the same game. But this is. I was surprised to find that I did prefer the 1200 because you'd think that the Super Nintendo would have the clear advantage in this type of a game. This is an up for jump excursion on the 1200, but even with that, I still think that it looks and plays just a little bit better on the Amiga.
Holy smokes! So wait a minute. Aren't you the Super Nintendo glory boy?
I am the Super Nintendo glory boy.
Don't you love it? You love the Super Nintendo and hate everything else.
That's what the back of this shirt says. It says I hate everything.
Has determined that this is better on the Amiga. Well, that's enough for me. That's enough for me, Boat. And it does. I mean, I looked at them both. I don't know. I thought the Super Nintendo looked a little bit better, but clearly, I was. There's room there for conversation. Now. You've got at least one or two more of these coming up, don't you? You want to preview some people?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's not on the Google Plus that if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you should, because I'm doing these port comparisons. I'm going to release one a week. They're a lot of fun to put together because
you did a great job too. I couldn't believe how good it looked.
Well,
man.
I think they're fun. It's a neat way to see how the Amiga stacks up to its contemporaries. And
you got real snarky on the latest one.
Oh yeah. Well, the last one, this latest one is a real dog on the Amiga, and so it was an easy pop. But if you want to tune in, it's going to drop on Tuesday. You're going to see the Amiga version of Outrun versus the Mega Drive version. And,
if you're ever going to be snarky on a video, that's your boy.
Absolutely,
right there.
Absolutely.
And and part of the snark, not to give it away all of it, but. At the beginning, where the Amiga version takes forever to load, and of course the Genesis version pops right up. You're good to go. And you look at the Amiga screen, like a loading screen, with this sweet anticipation. It looks so great. It's just like the arcade.
Yeah.
And then the game loads. It's one of the all-time gut punches.
Yeah. It's very rare that the artists have created an entire title screen that is totally divorced from the actual gameplay.
Well, they needed something to put on the back of the box. Yeah. I would bet $1 million that was what they put on the box.
Absolutely.
It would be $1 million.
Absolutely.
Along with your versus videos. Of course, this is the month of Thanksgiving. We've been playing some games that were sent to us over the years that we just never got around to playing. In fact, I'm getting ready to put up, I've got a couple from our good buddy Ravi that I'm getting ready to do, a CD32 title, and also I'm going to take a turn at Cincy Golf, which you got to play, but I haven't got to play it yet.
Yeah,
so
I want to check that out.
I'm going to give that one a whirl. So those things should be bounced up the next week. You want to go over any of the specky stuff?
So O'Brien's Retro and Vintage sent us a whole shoebox full of tapes.
Oh yeah.
And so I took a day and did a real long stream of all of these different Spectrum titles. There's a shooter called Star Farce, one of the worst titles of all time.
Last week,
I put out there's a edutainment title called Survival, where you pick whether you want to be a rat or a hawk. And
I know which I'd pick.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a hard choice.
No.
Hey, spoiler alert, it's easier to be the hawk than the rat. And then this coming up, in fact, maybe even coming up today or tomorrow, the computer cookbook.
Oh.
The computer cookbook, which was way more fun than I thought it would be, mostly due to the antics of the chat.
It's hard to prepare a computer for consumption.
It is.
No easy task.
This program shows you how.
You've had a lot of fun with these ZX Spectrum titles, haven't
And
you?
the Spectrum has been it's like finding a treasure that you never even knew you wanted.
Oh, look at
The Spectrum is fan-freaking-tastic.
I think that's dandy. You know, let's talk. Here's something wacky. We've noticed in the past couple weeks that, you know, normally if you're here to watch the Amigos record our show, we record live in front of a studio audience via the internet, and then afterwards we'll usually have a cold one, and then we'll just talk about some crap for about 20 minutes, right? And we've been doing this for, I mean, we always did it, but we just changed it, I don't know, about 8 months or whatever
like
on that. And so, but recently, for whatever reason, that show's been blowing up, brother. And so it's called Insert This Too, in case you didn't know.
And if you're subscribed to this podcast, you do know, because it comes free with the feed.
But if you don't subscribe, it's a little feed. And we've actually had I think we did a couple interesting topics, and the one we did last week, I thought was in fact, it made me think about stuff I'd honestly never thought about before. And the topic was, in 20 years, will we be able to play the games we love? And I'd even add to that, in 20 years, will people even want to play the games that they play today? Who knows? Right? That's something we covered. So if you want to hear me and Bo, I don't know what you would call that.
Opine.
Just speculate. You know, futurists like Michio Kaku, except about games. Tune in. And this... we'll be, of course, doing one today. So we do them every week.
Who was the guy that used to bend spoons on Carson?
Oh boy, you put me on the spot because I know exactly who you're talking about.
That's me. That's the role
you?
that I play.
Oh man, what am I, Carson?
No, you're the other guy, Michio Kaka.
I'm ignoring that. Listen, if you're one of those crazy people, I've got to admit something, Bo.
Admit away.
I've been doing this show now for how many episodes are we on? 175 episodes,
something like that.
Plus, God knows how many other things we've done. And it finally happened. And I'm sorry to admit it, but I made a mistake this week. I'm sorry. There goes my perfect record. I accidentally released our other show, ARG Presents, on the wrong day. And as a cunning ploy, when I saw that I had done it, because Bo was like, "Did you mean to release that?" I was like, "No." And so I hit it. And I was like, "This'll take care of that." And when I unhit it, like, it was a botch. Botched.
Because what happened was, when you published it, everybody that subscribed to us got pinged.
I know what happened. I understand.
Okay.
So, if you were wondering what the hell was going on, that was Dummy's fault. So, if you're in ARG, the last episode I thought we had a lot of fun. We did PC DOS games of the early 90s. And we looked at One Must Fall 2097, which is a fighting game that I really enjoyed on the PC, and my brother and let me tell you, he loves this game, Big Red Racing. I'm sure you've heard him talk about it.
I listened to the episode.
Oh, did you? And so, if you want to hear Brent, just gets mushy over this thing. When I gave him my opinion, I thought he was going to cry right there in front of me. So, if you missed out or wonder what happened, ARG is up and ready for your viewing or listening pleasure. Now, sorry about that, my bad. That's what you get for doing this stuff at 1 a.m. You just a little botch here. And this week, we were going to be doing coin-op games of the early 90s. So same era, different format.
I hope this week you finally start to use the schedule function on YouTube.
Never. I will never use it. I'll tell you why later. So, I think, have we covered, is there anything else we got coming up or did this week that we need to talk about, Bud? I think that pretty much is everything I've got. You got anything?
That wraps it up, man.
That's a lot of stuff there.
It was
and I told you, I was like, we don't have much news, but there's a lot going on. So, and tune in for more Thanksgiving shows, and as the holiday rolls around, we get more time. We're going to really crank out some stuff, why don't we both?
Yeah.
So it'll be fun.
All right, Aaron, it's time to talk about this week's game, Grand Prix, Formula One Grand Prix. Sorry.
Thank you, Foster Brooks. Yeah. Formula One Grand Prix.
Who's Foster Brooks?
You don't know who Foster Brooks is? He's perpetually drunk comedian.
Is he Father Jack?
No.
Oh, I thought that might have been the guy that played him.
I do like Jack. What are we doing? Oh, yeah, game. So this week we're talking about Formula One Grand Prix. This was released. Now, I told Bo, because Bo kind of nonchalantly last week said, "Hey, we're going to do this." I know this is a big deal to a lot of people. It's a big game. This game came out in 91. Now, there's some interest in terms of the number of discs. Now, they've got this listed everywhere I go as a 4-disc game. However, I have seen 3-disc versions of this floating around the gray area sites, and I'm going to guess that it was a ripped copy that maybe they compressed the 3-disc. I'm not sure. To be honest, I didn't try any of the 3-disc. I played the 4-disc, but there could be a 3-disc version. Don't know. And so this was put out by Microprose. So the fellow, the brain, the genius behind this was our old buddy, Jeff Crammon. Now, do you remember Jeff? You should. He was behind one of my all-time favorite games we did on the Amiga.
Hybris?
Stunt Car Racer.
Oh.
Stunt Car Racer.
That makes sense.
Which is a brilliant game.
Mm-hmm.
And so he took his brilliance and his mind for this sort of thing and smushed it into this game. So this, of course, ran on the ECS, OCS hardware, and had a couple conversions. I'll be honest with you, I didn't even look at them. The Atari ST and the PC DOS. Of course, the Amiga was the flagship computer for those. So I can tell you, I will preface this by saying I am not a fan of Formula car racing.
Are you a fan of any racing?
I like demolition derbies.
Not a race.
Well, listen, what are you hanging me out to dry here? Are you a fan of car racing?
But at least I'm man enough to say it.
That makes you a man? I'm trying to think of the. I mean, I like drag racing. How about that?
Okay.
Remember Dragster?
Counts. Yeah.
That was fun. And I'd like playing these games more than I like watching the show.
Me too.
This is a lot like, there's a lot of stuff like that.
Golf comes to mind.
Yeah, golf. Although, sadly, occasionally I will sit around and watch some golf. Yeah. So really, you blew that, didn't you? So my knowledge of this particular sport is skin deep. I'm not going to sit here and wax on how what I know about it. So one thing that confused me right out of the gate is that Formula One Grand Prix isn't known as Formula One Grand Prix in the USA.
What is it known as?
It is known as World Circuit. All right, World Circuit. Yeah. Hey, I'm just saying. Of course, Microprose is known for, they do a lot of simulation type of stuff. They're a good outfit. This wasn't just put out by some yahoos. So, in a nutshell, Formula One is a game that puts you in control of a Formula One racer, and you put you on real-life, existing Formula One racetracks with a slew of options and let you go to work. There are 16 tracks, which is ridiculous. That's a ridiculous amount of tracks. The game that people when this game came out, probably the big main game for racing fans was a game called Indianapolis 500, which I'd played that. In fact, I played that one more than this one, and not because it's better, but because that's what I had. And that game was good. It was a realistic racing simulator, but it was nowhere. It was not in the same stratosphere as this one. Plus, it had one track. It had 16 tracks. Now, when you say 16 tracks, it's not like you're playing, say, Daytona from Sega, where there's a carnival going on in the background. Right. Most of these tracks, the layout's obviously realistic, but it's not like there's going to be an epic difference in the background graphics or whatever. But still, it's irrelevant for the actual driving. But I thought I'd mention that. So. You get control of this race car. It gives you several options. This thing's got tons and tons of options, Boats. It's got basically you can just hop in a car and race, or you can set up a circuit. You can play over a whole season, and you can what I thought was neat. You can go in and rename everything. So I named my racing team the Amigos team, and I had me and you as the racers, and that was kind of fun to do that stuff. You can edit stuff on your car. You can do stuff like mess around with the wings, on it. You can
control the drag,
the
and
gear
all that
ratios. And keep in mind that you can tell I'm leaving my realm here. You can pick the tires on this thing. You can change. They wear out. You have to change them. You have to go to the pit and change them. It's got a pit, which is. it's hard to believe this was only a few years after a game like Pit Stop 2.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's so, archaic compared to this. It's unbelievable. Now, if Jeff Crammon's involved in this, you're not going to get some kind of thrown together crapiola. This is some physicked up, realistic stuff. But does the game look spectacular? At the time, it actually looks pretty darn good. It's a game of its time period. Wouldn't you agree? But the presentation is pretty good.
I think that this is, in terms of the way that racing games looked for a long, long time, I think that this was probably one of the first truly modern-looking games I've ever seen in terms of the speed combined with the way that the graphics are drawn with, with polygons. I know that like race driving and hard driving, they were like this, but they didn't have the sense of speed that this game has.
Yeah. Oh, no, not even close.
Yeah.
And you're right; those are good comparable titles. If you think about hard driving on the Amiga, and then you put this beside it, it makes hard driving look like not so good.
Right.
And now I also should say that I played this on 2 different machines. I played this on the 1200, and I also played. I emulated to see because I could change the processor speeds. It makes a difference.
Well, I only played this via emulation, and I can see how having a slower Amiga might take a performance hit.
Do you remember what processor you used?
Yeah, this was with the 1200.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. So you played like I did. So I cranked it up to a couple. I played it through a couple different things, and as you go up the scale, you get more realistic sense of speed, mm-hmm. and that, obviously it's going to render stuff better. This game. It's actually quite remarkable for the amount of 3D objects that appear on the screen. It's not loopy either.
No.
Crammon is a genius. He's a programming or math genius. There's
probably
something,
both.
Because how many games look like this? And in 3D on the Amiga, and we've established that the Amiga you can do 3D, but usually it's clunky. Mm-hmm. So the thing about this that really put it over the top for me. Again, this is normally not the kind of game I'll play, but I'm going to tell you exactly. I didn't look anything up on eBay. I didn't look anything up on YouTube. I didn't do anything because I'd played this game way back. Mm-hmm. So I sat down and I grabbed my controller and I fired this thing up and just did a practice race. And I just took off. I'm driving around and I noticed I'm like, I feel pretty good here. I'm doing pretty good because if you've played a game like Forza or something. You get this stick and you don't know what you're doing, and you just go out there and just do donuts or hit the,
Yeah.
So I'm cruising along. I'm like, man, I am a natural at this. I felt like $1 million, mm-hmm. So I finished the lap. I thought, man, that's a respectable time. Mm-hmm. It wasn't perfect, and so I was like, I felt really good about myself. I really thought I was a real wizard, right? Well, I played this on Rookie. Okay, and so what I didn't know was, and I learned that this game ingeniously has driver aids built into it. So, and this right here, and this may be mandatory now on a racing. Again, I don't play them. If it's not, I've never heard of this before this game, and it is absolute brilliant, and it's so seamless. I didn't even know it was happening. It shows you how good it was. So. When you play it, there are different skill levels to play this game. You've got rookie, amateur, semi-pro, pro, and ace. Okay. Now, the difficulty level determines how many of the player aids are default turned on, and you can turn them off, all right, whenever you want. And they're just function keys. Do it F1 through F6, and rookie has them all on. So. These are what they do, all right, just to run down, because this is pretty important. So you've got auto braking, auto gears, which that helps because I can't drive a stick in real life. Self-correcting spin, all right, ideal line, and suggested gear. All these things work in harmony to make someone that sucks feel great.
Yeah.
So once I learned about these, and I've got to say Pixels at Dawn sent me the full manual for this, which helped out. I read through it. I read through some of it. It was a massive tome. Mm-hmm. But I looked all this stuff up, and I was like, oh, it's okay. Because without that, I would have never even... And, of course, this would have been another looking like an idiot incident because I wouldn't have any idea what I was doing. So I thought, well, heck, let's turn these off and just try the practice track. It's exactly what you think would happen. I took that car, I spun out, I hit the wall, I wobbled around like an idiot.
Yeah.
It sucked. I sucked at it. It was no fun for me because I was not good enough to play this game. And then slowly I started turning these things back on. You can feel what they do. It made a lot more fun for me. I mean, it was like one of the reasons I don't like these games is because I suck at them. And it's fun to actually not suck and have a chance to at least do okay. Did you have the similar experience?
So I did not know that the driver assist existed. I just thought I was awesome at this game.
Oh.
And it turns out I'm not really even that awesome. There were several times, again, this is another one of these games where there wasn't gameplay footage of sufficient length or quality to embed in our show here. So I had to record the footage myself. And I definitely spun out quite a few times trying to take turns too quickly.
Yeah. The turns in this game, let's talk about the graphics and your ability to race. I thought the graphics were very good. One thing that happens is when you come upon a turn, you'll see a road sign that tells you which way you're turning, and it gives you a rough idea of the type of turn. Mm-hmm. It could be a U-turn or a tight turn, left or right, or a loose turn or curve. And that's super important because one thing I noticed was I had a heck of a time seeing the turn coming. Did you experience that?
Yeah, and I think it has to do with the draw distance of the platform. I don't know how you could make it easier. And plus, I mean, that's part of the challenge at F1 is that you're going 200 miles an hour and you've got this turn coming up.
And again, I'm not faulting the game for it. And the funny thing is, when the first time I played this game and I had all that stuff on, I knew I was having trouble. Having trouble seeing the curves, but I was making them pretty well. And I thought, man, it's the controls are really intuitive that I'm good enough to where even if I'm not seeing these coming, I can do okay. Well, that was the helper that was keeping me in line. Mm-hmm. And it's fun to fiddle with what that stuff does because eventually I could turn off a couple things and feel like I was at least doing something. And I will say you can't just hit the gas and just hold the joystick dead forward and just assume it's not going to steer for you.
No.
You will not do well. So it's not like an auto drive, but it does keep you in line. But the curves, I did find the curving situations, it was just tough to see. And when I played on a faster processor, they were still kind of hard to see, and then also I was going fast. So the faster processor I used, the more trouble I had, doing that. Go ahead.
So I just want to make sure I understood right. There comes a point where it kind of flips on you, and you to use a processor that's too fast speeds the game up too much to make it.
Well,
more
no. This is a fault with me.
Oh, okay.
Not the game itself.
I didn't know if it was like those early.
When you use a faster processor, it makes the game lots more fun, and it feels faster.
Okay, but at no point it's not like those early DOS games where it's relying on the internal clock and doing everything with that.
Right.
Okay.
Now, this game does have a flaw or a programming deficiency that can happen that will cause. I read what it did. I'm not 100% sure. The explanation was a little bit wonky, but basically, the game has a flaw that it's something. The frame rate's tied to something with the frame rate and the speed tied together. I'm not sure what it means. I think it's just, of course. At the time, probably it was not something that would have came up, and I think it only applies when you're in certain situations. So, I mean, if you know something about this game, there's the thing about this game that makes it difficult to look over in a week is that aside from the fact that you've got the original game that shipped and it had 16 tracks, this game is a lot like Sensible Soccer or something, where over the years a community built up around it that's still thriving today. In fact, a new website just went up in like April. And amongst the things that they do are they update the engine, the drivers. I think they have some kind of track editor. This game had a lot of crazy, just out of the box. It did a bunch of stuff. Like, I saw this and I couldn't even believe this was real. I mean, it's got like hot seat multiplayer, among other things. But one thing it's got is, and get this, but I read this, I had to read it 3 times. Play by mail mode. Now get this, I'm going to read this verbatim because it's so goofy. So, in F1 Grand Prix, Players would choose one of the drivers for the particular race, and when their turn was up, they would save the game on a floppy drive. The drive could be sent via second-class mail to other participants in the event to continue with their turn. This would be saved on the disc and mailed out to the next participant. And so you could do full season championship like that.
That is unbelievable.
Now let me tell you something. That's the best thing I've ever heard.
That is awesome.
Because you're combining something
so cool.
incredibly old with something else.
Yeah.
When I read that, it made me so happy.
Now let's go back to talk about the hot seat multiplayer, because I don't think you realize just how cool this is.
Go ahead.
So,
because I didn't try it.
When you're playing this game and you have a team of people, say you're playing with 3 buddies, okay? You're all gathered around the computer. You'll be playing, and in the middle of your race, the screen will fade out. It will fade back in as another driver. You can't control. It gives you like 5 seconds to pass the controller to the other guy. So you're all playing together. You're all driving for the same team, and you all get a chance to participate in the success of the race.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
too.
it's so cool.
You know, it's really again, Crammon is a guy who was ahead of the curve on this stuff. And so much ahead of the curve. Of course, this game did a gangbuster business, as you can imagine. I mean, it's super popular today. And so, of course, they had sequels that came out. And I know there were at least 3 sequels. I think the last one I looked into was out in 2002. And, of course, they improved the graphics and whatnot. Now, these weren't on the Amiga. But they looked pretty good. But, I mean, I'm guessing that the community around this one still being around means something. And it's funny how little they look sort of similar. I mean, they look obviously updated, but they look sort of similar to it, to what it was back in those days. Again, they've got a community available now. I guess they're still doing races and stuff on it, which is quite impressive, if you think about it. But this game had so much depth and stuff in it. I mean, we haven't even gotten to the fact that you pit. There's a pit thing. It's really cool. The guy has the sign that comes out that says brake and then all it does is stuff. And you've got all different types of tires, none of which I know anything about.
Yeah, if you are a fan of F1, I can imagine this being like your favorite game of all time forever.
I mean, fooling around with gear ratios and stuff, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? My car would explode, the second I touched it if I did that. But so, I mean, there's a lot of elements that were just above me. I mean, admittedly. So, in the Amiga pantheon here of racers, where would you put this? I mean, how does this compare to like Vroom or even stuff like Lotus? I mean, do you put that in the same ballpark? Is it?
Boy, it's hard to compare this game to either Vroom or Lotus, because this is an in the cockpit experience. This really stands on its own, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of the racing games that I've played on the Amiga, in terms of the realism, the graphics, the speed, and all of the options. There's nothing that I've played that can touch this.
It's real good. I mean, it's quite good. Now, I have not played much F1 stuff.
Yeah, maybe there's later games that are better than this.
Yeah,
but,
so when we get to the point where we try out one of the other ones, there may be something to compare it with. But right. I mean, I will say, like I said, I played a lot of the Indianapolis 500. I think it was Papyrus that did that. Remember them? And I think that's who did it. And this, it was real sloppy slow. I mean, it was a simulator, but this runs at now. Admittedly, I did not trust like a 500. But in fact, that should be an Amigos play, just like Wing Commander. Let's see how this fares up.
Yeah.
But on the 1200, it was more than playable, and as you go up the scale, it got better. So again, it's a lot like stunt car racers the same way. It's okay. It's playable early on, and in the faster processor you get, the more fun it is. But I like the heads-up display. You've also got something else this game did that was very unusual, as far as I'm concerned. It had rear mirrors.
Yeah, the rear mirrors are cool, and like you said, there's no like craziness going on in the background in terms of like what you'd see in a game like Daytona. But the backgrounds are different. The city tracks, or you can see the city in the background. Yeah. I mean, that's again, it's just little details like that really add to the experience.
Something else you can think about when you play a game like this is, of course, this is where the player aid stuff comes in. You're using not an analog stick. I mean, basically, and so for someone like me, I just don't have the aptitude to play this without the help. I think if I took anything away from this game, I think that should be at every racing game should have that help sequence. I'm sure the new ones have it. Surely they do.
Yeah, I mean, Forza definitely has driver assist built in.
You've got to, because that made this game so much more fun. One of the things about Indy, Indianapolis 500, which again is the game I compare this to because I played it the most. I mean, I would get so frustrated that I would just give up and just go backwards and try to blow stuff up after so many laps because I was so far behind. I didn't feel like I never won a race, okay, or even really came close. But I was still with the pack for most of the race. Not bad,
right.
And often my tires would blow or something because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I thought that was a lot of fun. But like I said, it's easy to read the gauges and stuff in the front. Yeah, it's all written out. It's actually, I don't know if this is the way an actual car is inside, but I mean, it should be. It tells you what's going on. It tells you which car you're in, which that explains that for the multiplayer because I was wondering about that. It uses real drivers, at least the one I had. I mean, I recognize a couple, like Nigel Mansell, I recognize him. There were a few others that I think I'd heard of. Again, we don't follow this. I will say that I don't want to speak for everyone in the States because F1 at one time in the States had a pretty good following, and I'm sure that a lot of people are still into it. We're just not, I mean, so it's not like, I mean, and I know it's not as big as say like NASCAR, but NASCAR is, it was on the wane. But I mean, F1, and I remember when I was a kid, it was a pretty big deal, and I think it's a bigger deal everywhere else on Earth, but here,
sure, it's huge everywhere else.
But it's not like soccer where very few Americans care. I mean, more Americans care. I guess soccer's on the rise too. So there you go. I looked this thing up. I will say this: you can judge a game by how many reviews you find. I mean, in all honesty, and this one has every magazine on Earth reviewed this 7 times.
Wow!
So Lemon, this is one of the highest scores we've ever had on Lemon. They gave this an 8.67. They were very impressed.
Have we ever had it? Have we? It seems like we haven't done a 9 game.
I think we had a 1-9.
I'm sure Monkey Island was probably.
It might have been, but I mean, I don't know if I wasn't scoring Lemon back then. So Ace gave this a what they get? I don't know. Their scoring.
They're out of 1,000.
Yeah, 930. How weird.
It is weird.
Amiga Action gave it a 90. Amiga Computer gave it 93. Amiga Format gave it a 93. Amiga Mania, brother, gave it a 95. Amiga Power gave it a 92. See you, Amiga. It's funny that I hate when magazines do this. In 91, they give this thing a 95. In 94, they dropped it to an 86.
They just kill it.
What the hell happened?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Right. The game can't go back and write itself to make it better.
91. What do you want? Amiga. Now, here's another one. Amiga, the one, gave it, in 91, gave it a 93, but in 94, those 3 years dropped it down to an 86. I don't get that.
Yeah, that's weird.
Maybe it's the value of the re-release. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
I guess if they're re-releasing it and charging you the same amount, is it worth it at full price in this day and age? Maybe that was their criteria.
You got me, man. I don't know. So I looked this up on the Eve of Bay. Now I looked up 2 different versions. I looked up the U.S. version and the I guess European version. So. In the U.S., you can get World's Circuit boxed for $15 right now. Not bad. And then I saw some goof trying to get $20 for the discs. Now, in the U.K., you can buy this thing all day long.
Oh, I bet.
It was between $7 and $15. I mean, there were tons of these things. And I saw one in Australia going for $22 U.S. That's not a bad price.
No.
And the box is pretty cool looking. It's got the car on it and stuff, so if that's your bag. For just just scratching the surface of this thing in the week we had, man, I was really surprised. I was ready. I'm honest. I was ready to come in here and just be like, yeah, it's too sludge crap. But once I played it, it was fun. I mean, helping me not suck made all the difference. If only we had those controls, those aids in real life that I could just turn on.
Just in life, yeah.
I need like
grocery store assist.
No, I mean I'm thinking like enhanced personality, enhanced looks,
right?
Enhance conversational skills,
charm assist,
enhance intelligence, and enhance dexterity. That's all I want. Turn all those on, and I'm in.
That's right.
Think of it. We'd all be like Casanova, and as opposed to what we are. So, but I liked it.
Aaron, before we go, I give the Patreon pitch a lot, so I think it's your turn. Tell the fine folks what they can do if they would like to support the show and how it will benefit their lives.
I'll tell you, it's easy and it's helpful. if you would like to donate to the Patreon, you just roll over to Patreon. What is the exact?
Patreon.com/Amigos
That's
podcast.
Right. You know, hey, I'm a po' boy. I know what it's like to, you can't just throw money around. But if you got $1 or whatever, you feel like throwing it our way, we'd be much obliged. We take the money and we've upgraded equipment, with mics, which we've done. Seems like
every other week we upgrade our mics.
I think we've finally got the microphone issues licked over at ARG. I think this is probably the best we've sounded.
It did sound good last week,
so we can move on from that. But we appreciate everyone that helps us out. It's I know this is cornball. That's why I never do the pitch but it's very humbling that so many people think enough of us to throw us $1 or $2 of their hard-earned cash. And trust me, I know what it's like to go out there and labor for $1. You know what I'm talking about. And we appreciate it. And if you'd like to throw us $1, that's great. And if you can't, or you don't want to, or maybe you hate us so much you will take our money, that's okay too.
What about some of the benefits of becoming a Patreon supporter?
Well, you've got there's one main benefit, and that is you get to enter the land of Discord, which is a glorious land. Every time I think about something, it just shows up. There's so many conversations on there, and gosh, how many times did I fight with people this week on Discord? If you want to hear me rant and then watch Boat counter rant, that happens occasionally. But we talk about everything, not just Amiga stuff. We talk like this week. We talk about coin ops on the Xbox, and we've been talking. We see people that go on trips, and you get to see people from all over the world. That's one thing we got, and who'd have thunk it? We got people in there that are from all over the world, man. Mm-hmm. And those people are going other places too. So you see all people post up their pictures and stuff. Who was at the pub the other night and had their
yeah, Ravi and Crystal met up, Amigos meet up,
which is awesome. And Ravi will be coming here soon. And Ravi mentioned on the Retro Hour this week, talked about how much he was looking forward to his trip. He's going to a big retro computing show.
Yeah, Vintage Computer
Philly.
Festival.
Is that where it's at?
Atlanta.
You're
almost there.
What's the one in Philly? They've got something.
That would be, I think that's Vintage Computer Festival, not Southeast.
Okay, there you go. And but Ravi's going to be coming up to join us, and so aside from the fact that we're on there's a lot of like luminaries and people that come by, and a lot of talented, intelligent folk way out of our league, both that stop by. So the Discord's, hey, you're going to meet a lot of cool people, and you've always got somebody to talk to because there's pretty much people in there all the time because of the time changes and stuff. So that's pretty fun. But yeah, we've also got a T-shirt shop. If that's your bag, I'm wearing one of our old school contributor shirts. There's a much cooler one that's came out with the soccer theme.
That is over at teespring.com. If you just go over there and you search for Amigos Retro Gaming, you'll see all of our shirts pop up.
I saw somebody in one of those pictures wearing a Psygnosis shirt from the shop, which is awesome. So if you want to come over there, hey, that'll do it. We also would be appreciative if you took the time to go over to leave us a review over at Apple, iTunes review. And I don't know, I guess you just do that from whatever the iTunes browser.
You can do it from you can do it from the browser, you can do it from the app, wherever you want to do it.
Yeah, that's all good. So did I leave anything out there, Bo?
You hit it all, man. You hit it all.
And we promise that only 1/3 to 1/5 of the money goes directly to the booze fund.
That's true. We've got a special partition. As you, I've already hit the booze a little bit too hard, apparently. Aaron, you forgot about the best thing about becoming a Patreon supporter. You get featured in the song, man. It's every young person's dream.
Now, last week a dude chastised you for singing that song. You remember that?
I didn't publish the thousands of responses I got that countered him. Yeah, the pro singing. My humility prevented me from doing so.
You've got humility? You must have turned the aid on since last week. The humility aid.
Boy, I could use that like nobody's business. Last week's winners. Do you remember the song last week? I need to stop asking you that because you never do. It was "I Want to Hold Your Hand" by the Beatles.
I remember how it was a cringeworthy moment.
Remember how the band director couldn't keep time with his own clapping? It was glorious.
I thought it was like a trained seal. was belting something out.
Could have had the things they hit with their noses, those bicycle horns.
That was an abomination that the Beatles felt, and the dead ones rolled over.
I want to congratulate Darren Coles, Paul Harrington, Duncan Stiles, Pixels at Dawn, Paul Kitching, Edvin Helen, Colin 419, Jonas Rulo, and Dell is Dreamy for correctly guessing the.
I think you should. Instead of congratulating, they all recognize something. You should apologize to them. I'm sorry for what I did to that song, fellas.
So if you know this week's Patreon song, you can send us a message at john@amigospodcast.com, and I will read your name among the winners next week.
Is there an Aaron at amigospodcast.com?
There is.
Is there anything in there? Who sends me email?
It's your email address.
I get nothing. I don't know how to get to it.
You got to check it. Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
It's too late.
Respect yourself.
I'm wrecked and no respect.
So here we go. Daniel Williams, Robert Edgerton, the third Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Letter, Rob O'Hara, Howard Nims, Matthew Moore, Eric Craig, Seanzo, Darren Lomax, Colin 419, Barkbit, Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, the John Cook, Dan Rossleaf, Killan, Alan Kebab, Checote, Level Lord, John Marshall, Matthew Perrin, Ricky DeRussell, Creepy Dead Boy, Figgy CTC, The Slow, Norris, Stefan Sorgon, Mortensen, Evan Helen, Blindo 75, Christopher has already added Chris Bolts, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, Graham Vepke, Brent Dowdy, Langdonson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Huckasey, Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Stiles, Alan Kebab, Anthony Jarvis, Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim Tommy Humbertstad, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Aaron Coles, Jason Warrens, Pixels of Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman.
You know, it took the entire song before I had an idea of what you were attempting to groan out there. Holy
Again,
smokes.
you're too kind.
I know.
You're too
Hey,
kind.
I just thought something I wanted to mention before the show's over. I mentioned all these before, but I wanted to mention especially this week. There are 3 podcasts I've been listening to I really enjoy, and this week there was some really good ones. I got around to one that I hadn't gotten to for a while. If you don't listen to the Retro Hour, they did a really interesting show. It was from their last Play Expo, I believe, where they had a roundtable discussion with a bunch of the big YouTubers, Kim Justice, Retro Mancade, Adam Korlick, a couple others. That was really interesting that I think you should check out. And of course, Retro Hour is always great. We love that. One of our buddies, Eric, has a show called it's called Pixel Gaiden, I believe is the name of it. And where him and his buddy out in California sit around drinking beer and they just basically talk about old games. And some of it I get,
great.
some of it I don't get. Yeah, I don't get any of the beer. They go off on the beer, but I enjoy that show quite a bit. And our buddy Lefarius did his first Amiga-rama stream the other day, which I happened to catch some of, and it was fun. And I enjoy his podcast as well, Amiga-rama. So those are 3 podcasts, all of our buddies, and they're all very good. Yeah. So if you are looking for some more Amiga action, man, get on those. They're all great. You can't go wrong. Can't go wrong, Bode.
Awesome. Next week, Aaron, it's a theme week. It's the November theme week.
We have Okay. The theme week.
Yeah,
this is from the Amigos.
This is from the Amigos Game Selection Committee.
That's something we didn't mention else about Patreon.
Yeah, so if you are a Patreon supporter at the level of Game Selection Committee member, you actually have a hand in selecting the games that we play each and every week. So this week, the Game Selection Committee has been hard at work, nose to the grindstone, trying to find out what game we should play next. And to be honest with you, they're still at it. They haven't figured it out, but they do know the theme. And the theme of next week's show is going to be Amiga games that had ports to consoles.
Oh, hey, how as timely as today's headline.
That's right.
I don't go into that part of Discord because I don't want to get spoiled.
Right, right. Me neither.
But occasionally I'll go in there, and I've noticed this week it's been crazy time in there. They've been really batting a lot of stuff around. So I'm guessing there's been a lot of action. I'm anxious to see. So we're going to find out along with everybody else, I guess.
Absolutely.
Cool. Hey, that'll be fun. We just found out the Amiga can hang with the Super Nintendo, so what the hell?
You never know what's going to happen. Guys, keep on playing Amiga. We'll see you next week. Until then, adios.